delighted to have you on, Crispin. Do you want to just talk to us a little bit about your role in property and environments as director?
Yeah, so I'm responsible for quite a broad range of activities. More currently, it's been quite heavily focused on workplace, pre-COVID and obviously sort of during, and it's that piece is shifting quickly, hence the call. I look after facilities management across the group, and I also do quite a lot of work around policies and strategy for the property group. Obviously, we're an international business and bringing all the different countries' cultures together and trying to achieve common goals.
Sure, great. So I guess Kingfisher PLC, if those haven't heard of it, obviously you own B&Q, Screwfix, TradePoint, and others. Is that?
That's right. So it is all home improvement DIY, and then sort of other brands internationally. The Castorama brand, Brico Depot, very similar to what you would see in the UK, but tailored to the local markets. Cool.
Okay. And I'm guessing you've traded relatively well, all things considered.
Yes. No. We were lucky enough to be given the title of essential retail, so we traded throughout. I think the team at B&Q have done an amazing job. Yeah, actually, when you saw this all starting to emerge, they were pretty much being held out as exemplary in the way that they were delivering it. And we've been very lucky. One, customers have responded to that, felt safe, and have continued to come in. And then people, whether they were furloughed or working from home, obviously had more money and time on their hands, turned to those kind of things. So yes, our business has probably been a bit more resilient than a number of other retailers.
Yeah, good. I guess everyone, myself included, has done more DIY in the first 6 months of this year than ever before.
Yeah.
So I guess at some point, if you cast your mind back, I think everyone had a moment of realization at some point in March that this virus was serious and that it was affecting the UK, and we were likely to go into a lockdown, and that was going to mean the majority of people working from home. What did that moment look like for you? Was that were you in crisis mode, or were you prepared, or how was it?
No, I think the true honesty is that all the contingency planning that people generally had in place. I mean, obviously, I can only speak for myself. You've never planned for anything on this kind of scale, and it was really interesting. I sort of stayed through to the end to make sure we were closing the office down, and you'd walk in and it literally was almost as though a fire alarm had gone off, and you walked around the office. There were literally sort of cups of coffee, people's coats, stuff still just lying around the office, and it happened rapidly. And I think because of that,
and a phased approach.
It wasn't on a specific moment on a day, but literally, it came much quicker than people thought.
It did.
And I think people actually suddenly became much more nervous about. I'll talk mainly about Paddington, our central head office, rather than the like B&Q are based out at Southampton. So people's anxiety about coming into central London on public transport, it was that started to rise quickly, and then even before the lockdown came, numbers were falling away rapidly. So honestly, the planning wasn't robust enough, but we're lucky enough that the IT that we already had pretty much clicked into pace. We were running at capacity for a number of weeks, and we had to kind of get more width on all the different kind of cables and stuff we use. And ever since that's happened, actually it's almost seamless now. So it has worked, but interesting. Couple of weeks at the beginning of it.
Yeah, I think most businesses were actually surprised how well they could get it to work. Everyone at home, utilising Teams and Zoom, WebEx, whatever your company chose. I think we're noticing that Teams is a common platform. which is obviously prompting a lot of thought around what positive changes can we take from this going forward in the workplace. So what are your initial thoughts on that going forward?
So, I mean, I think we don't see an office as it was beforehand. We don't see people working 5 days a week from an office. I think flexible working is much more a way of the future. I think it's quite interesting. I've been sort of, talking to a number of people in different parts of the business and elsewhere, similar conversations to this. I think there's a fine line from working from home, and then somebody described it as, it's not that, I'm living at work, because the work home sort of barriers are so sort of blurred now, and I think what people are desperately missing is social interaction. Yes, we can have a conversation, and you get a level of emotional sort of connectivity between somebody on the other side of a screen, but it's sort of the coffee machine moment, or passing someone in a corridor or whatever. That's where the bonding comes. That's the social interaction. That's where the innovation happens, and it's the collision of conversations where you bumped into a colleague from another area of the office. You didn't know they were doing something. You suddenly come together, and then all of a sudden you've leapt on another. So I think people are really struggling with the connectivity, sometimes even within the teams, if they're larger teams, and connectivities across different teams in their own office structures.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm brutally honest, I think we're functioning. Our stores are trading well, and that's different. We've got a retail business. Is the office set up to be a high-performing, innovative office for many years to come in the new environment? And I think at the moment, where everyone's at home, we will struggle. Yeah. And I think if you really want to drive, as I say, innovation and collaboration, you've got to have some coming together. And that's where we've got to rethink the office so that it can deliver that in a way that people feel safe and want to be there, and understand that it is a much more flexible environment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You can't replace the coffee machine or the water cooler moments, as you say.
Yeah.
I think particularly in a physical environment, there's a lot of collaboration that happens that maybe isn't directly work related, and that is good for culture and the general vibe or buzz in the office. I think you struggle to build a culture via a virtual platform.
Yeah.
I think you can struggle to inspire trust. If you're recruiting and you're interviewing over Teams and hiring over Teams, it's difficult to actually get to know someone that way if you've not had the just the general small talk of being in the office and with colleagues.
We've certainly had to onboard one new member to the team, and she's doing really well, and we're lucky that she's a very energetic, vibrant, sort of young lady. So she's kind of made herself known amongst the team. But I would absolutely support what you've said in terms of, I think what we understood as culture before and what culture is and how important it is going forward, I think is really important, and we've got to reflect on that. And I think, sort of one of the questions I've been asking our kind of senior team is, sort of just what do they understand the purpose of the office to be in the future?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a real danger. You could have a bit of a knee-jerk conversation today and redesign an office, and it would answer today's question. I think actually what we've got to think about is, where are we likely to be, even if we can forecast where we're going to be in 6 months and 12 months time? What is the new structure of an operating model of your business? And then specifically, what is the purpose of the office, and what is the purpose of home working? And I think you've got to understand both and how they work together. are some of the office team going to be in there 5 days a week? Maybe people like some of the finance functions, they tend to be much more static and they work in a certain way. However, they work absolutely fine from home. So I still think that's quite an old-fashioned way of thinking. I think there's a large number of people that will probably be in there, 3 days, 4 days a week. And there probably are some people who actually can work remotely. And let's not mix remotely and flexibly. They're two different things. So I think when you understand that, you start to understand how you then design the space, because you understand its purpose and function, what equipment you need. And the other thing for me going forward, I think office densities are going to be very different.
Yep.
So, where we were going into much more open plan offices and there were sort of long, benches and tables and bits and pieces, I just think we need to rethink that. And certainly the fact that you and I, talking generally, we may have had our own desk. I don't see that in the future. I think, you will have spaces where people will come together and, I think, again, we've got to be careful around hot desking. We need to understand the facilities management, the cleaning regimes and bits and pieces, how you do use shared spaces. But I think, I'll have a personal locker. Everyone can plug and play in most offices these days. I will go in and I think actually we will work more agilely as project teams rather than as traditional property teams and finance teams. So yeah, I think for me it's exciting. But it is going to challenge the what has been the normal.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's probably slightly cliche now, this new normal expression, but it is a reality. One last question for you then. In terms of space requirements, what are your thoughts on that? Because I believe rents and rates are a business's second biggest costs after salaries. I think it's probably most applicable to the likes of yourself, where you're renting space in areas like Paddington, where it's prime real estate, and that comes at a cost. Do you think you'll be re-looking at your space needs?
Again, I think it is a bit early, but I think if you take what we've generally been talking through, the early indications are that the majority of offices will not need the space that they're currently on. And I think for me, the sort of questions I'm pushing back up to other sort of the board and things are, what will be the operating model? How many people are we going to have? What is the way of working going to be? And then thirdly, going back to what is the purpose of the office. And it's only when I understand all three of those that I can really start to see whether we're going to need less space. Then when you reflect on things like a healthy office, an office that's less dense, you start to push the margins back a little bit. So I just, it's going to change, I'm sure, but to what degree? There's quite a lot of conversation that needs to take place.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thanks, Crispin. Great to have you on the call. Really appreciate it. I think it's been an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And keep in touch. We'll speak soon.
Lovely. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Good to
see you.
Cheers. Bye.
Take care.